Hello people, and finally we have some training schedules. So these training schedules are all about player development but also player rest. So a lot of us play a lot of games, especially when we have 2 games during the week. So these training schedules are basically balancing the injury risk, the fatigue, as well as the player development, the tactical familiarity, the team cohesion, the happiness. All of that is sorted. I believe these training schedules are the only training schedules you need in your FM22 save. So in this video, we're going to start off by me showing you how to set it up. Basically, of course, not just importing the schedules, but you need to do some individual player training, and then at the end of a season we can check some results, some player development results, the happiness, the injuries as well. We want to see how many injuries we got and did we manage it well. So before we get stuck into things, make sure you are subscribed, make sure you like the video, leave a comment. All of that is going to help this channel, but also the video. If this video reaches more people, then we are helping more people. And lastly, if you are new or you haven't yet, make sure you download this OneFootball app as well. This will help the channel out massively. So I'm going to run the ad and then I'm going to get back to you with the training schedules. OneFootball have been amazing enough to sponsor this video, and what I need for you guys to do is check out the app. The link will be in the description. It's fairly easy to do. You can download it via the link or you can use the barcode on the screen. The app is a great footballing app. It's where you can check the latest statistics, the latest football news. You can also watch some live free games. Yes, you heard me right. You can watch free games live for free on the footballing app. It's my favorite place to keep up to date with the most recent football news. You can also find some fantastic analysis and match reports on the OneFootball app as well. If you're attempting to replicate tactics like I do on this channel, you can also use this app to grab the latest match stats and all of that good stuff. So make sure you check out the app. The link is in the description, but also you can use the barcode on the screen, and trust me, you will not regret downloading this app. So welcome back people, welcome to my Barcelona squad. I'm going to be using Barcelona for this video. I mean, they got some good youngsters. Of course, some of these youngsters, we need to develop them. There was no point in me picking a team that doesn't really have many good youngsters for me to showcase the player development. So you can see here, I've actually promoted some of the youth as well. So we got Gavi, we got Akomatch, I don't know, Yusuf Demer, we got Balde as well. Pedri was already in the first team, so was Ansu. Nico, I believe we promoted him, and I believe that's it. So we promoted some players from the academy. These players are of course good enough to get some game time during the season. Game time is probably number one when it comes to player development. Game time is very important, so don't just rely on your training to develop some of these players, especially if you promote them into your first team. And the very first thing is actually the tactic. Now for me, I believe the tactic is very important here. We have a 4-2-3-1, and the reason why the tactic is important, because when it comes to setting your individual player roles, you should have an idea of the roles that you want your players to train in. So for example, we have Collado here. I know that most of his games, or basically all of his games, he's going to be played as an inverted winger on attack. So when it comes to doing our training, that is exactly the role and duty that I want him to be training in training. So if you don't set the individual role, the AI could be setting it for you. They could be setting random ones as well, and they won't necessarily train in the role that you want them to in training. So for me, the tactic is very important, especially knowing certain roles that you want certain players to be training in. This is of course going to help us in the individual training. So number one is actually knowing or having an idea of the tactic and the player roles you want certain players to be playing in. This allows us to move over to the individual training. So for the position, role and duty, you can see for my goalkeepers, they are the sweeper, keeper, on the defend, because that is exactly the role and duty that they have in the tactic. And here you can see as well my central defenders, all of them, each and every one of them are ball playing central defenders on that defensive duty, because that is the role that they are going to be playing in. So I can go through all of my players here in the squad, and all of it is going to be exactly the same idea. Everybody is training in the role that they would be playing in if they played in the tactic. So that's important when it comes to training, setting your position, your role and your duties. But next we can move on to the additional focus. For me, the additional focus is either there's an area that you want to work on, it could be a weakness, or it could be the player's strength. So again, for someone like Gavi here, he's very good at passing, especially for a 17-year-old, but he's a playmaker, and I really want to exaggerate on those passing attributes. I want him basically to be an Iniesta, the next Iniesta. So we are going to be focusing on his passing. Now for me, and it could just be just for me, if the weakness is too low, and it's very unlikely that they are going to develop that attribute, to a respectable number, then for me there's no real point trying to focus on those attributes. So like here, his heading's on 6. There's no point in me trying to improve that, because I just know throughout the years that is not going to improve a lot. Whereas if I try and improve his passing, even if that goes up by 2 or 3, his passing could be on 16, his vision could be on 17, his technique could be on 17. He can turn out to be a fantastic passer of the ball. So for the individual focus, this could be all down to you. Are you trying to improve a weakness? It could be a weakness that player really needs to develop, but if the number is too low, is there any point? Or do you want to try and focus on that player's strength and really bring that attribute out of the player? So that's the reasons behind some of these additional focuses. But again, additional focus, it can be down to you. So there's not much to really see here, but I do think that the rest is very important, especially if you want to implement these training schedules. So when the player's fitness is on very poor, he will be doing no pitch or gym work. When it's on poor, he will be doing half intensity. When he's on fair, it will be normal intensity. The same when the fitness is good, but when it's on excellent, the intensity will double. But also what you can do here, especially for the youngsters as well, because you know they aren't going to get the most game time, you can't afford to keep them or just leave them on double intensity. So someone like Alex Collado, if you go to his development, his intensity level is just going to stay on double because he's not going to play much game. It shouldn't really increase his fatigue or his injury risk as much as it would if I did it to someone like Sergio Aguero, who I know is more than likely going to play every game when he's fit. So that there concludes the rest already. There wasn't much to see here, but it's important if you are using these training schedules. So welcome to the training schedule bit, I guess. Of course, the download link will be in the description below as well. So make sure you go and download that if you want the best training schedules out there. It's so cringy saying that. But here you can see that we have one for pre-season, one when we have one match during the week, when we have 2 matches during the week, and of course the international break where we can just focus on developing those players. So for pre-season, and you can see here as well with the impacts, you can see the injury risk, the condition, the fatigue, sharpness, team cohesion, all of that good stuff. You can see where the main focus is on. It's on sharpness, it's on team cohesion, which is very important in pre-season, tactical familiarity as well, that's of course important, and keeping those players happy. So what are these schedules actually focusing on? So for the teamwork, it's all about focusing on the next match, the tactical familiarity, the team cohesion as well, but the attributes is only going to be focusing on teamwork. So you don't really want to use too many teamwork schedules, as it's only going to be focusing on the attributes. For tactical, it's going to be focusing on the tactical familiarity, the attributes of anticipation, composure, concentration, decisions off the ball, positioning, teamwork and vision, but also there's going to be a slight increase in team cohesion. Team bonding, of course, is impacting things like happiness, team cohesion and the teamwork in the upcoming match. But the sessions that are in blue will focus on your whole team as one. It wouldn't split the team into different units like certain other schedules will. So things like, I don't know, transitional press, it will split your team into 3 different units: the defensive unit, the attacking unit and the goalkeeper unit. But these blue boxes will focus on your whole squad all at once, which I feel is important for the pre-season. And all of them will also have a focus on tactical familiarity apart from the physical. Physical, of course, won't focus on your tactic, but things like attacking, as you can see, is looking at the creative freedom, the possession is looking at the passing style, the tempo, the defending is looking at the trigger press, the marking. So you will be focusing on the tactical familiarity with these dark blue boxes, but all as a team. Now for when you have one match during the week, and as you can see again with the impacts, very little impact on the injury risk, very little impact on the fatigue. The condition is at a decent level as well, the sharpness is at a nice level, team cohesion, happiness and tactical familiarity all at a very good level. So again, it's clear to see what my focus is on: minimizing the injury risk, minimizing the fatigue, but increasing the tactical familiarity, the happiness and the team cohesion. So again, with these training schedules, I've just tried to be fancy. I've tried to basically split them up into different sections. So on Monday, it's all about the transition. On Tuesday, it's about the tactical stuff. On Wednesday, it's all about off the ball or the physical. Thursday is about in possession. Friday is about the match preparation before the match on Saturday. And then Sunday, all about the match review. So I've tried to be fancy and all professional, but I don't think it really matters about the order unless you're trying to put physical and match practice on the same day. Then you can come across some injuries on a Tuesday, which is what you don't want, which is also why I've split the two. So as you can see here, for the transitional stuff, for the press and the restrict, you can see that it's splitting the team into 3 different units: the attacking unit, the defensive unit, and the goalkeeper unit, which is also important actually when it comes to sorting out your units. Where do you want your players to be? So for example, when I'm doing the chance creation, do I want him to be part of creating the chances, or do I want him to be part of the defending side trying to stop those attackers? That's all down to you, or down to your tactics. But you can see here on the Monday, it's all about the transitional work, which is going to be focusing purely on the attributes, which is kind of a development thing. Tuesday, match practice, which is very good. Now this is going to focus on your individual roles, the roles that we set at the beginning of the video. Things like this is very important, especially chance creation, chance conversion. As you can see, the secondary focus for the defensive unit is going to be focusing on individual roles. But things like match practice, that has a strong focus on individual roles. So does defensive shape, and so does attacking movement as well, as we can see here. So when it comes to training those attributes, is focusing on the individual roles. So there's no point in setting your individual roles without setting the sessions that will be looking at those individual roles. So if I went throughout the whole season, I don't know, just using transitional press throughout the whole week, the individual roles that we set at the start is just going to become pointless basically. So these training schedules that focuses on individual roles, make sure you look at the attributes, will be very important. So during the week, we got a nice mixture of everything, but these recovery sessions for me, I find very important, as you can see that these greatly reduce the injury risk, and it also reduces fatigue as well. But it's the injury risks that we're mainly focusing on. A lot of people pick up injuries just by training, and this could be the reason why. Not enough resting or not enough recovery sessions. I don't necessarily feel that my training schedules are very heavy, but considering we are going to be playing a lot of games, it will become heavy on the players. It can take a toll without resting and without the recovery sessions. So that's what happens when we have one match during the week. When we have 2 matches during the week, as you can see again, the focus is purely on resting, because we have 2 matches during the week. We don't necessarily need to focus on player development, because the matches, players will develop during the matches. So when you have 2 matches during the week, the main focus should actually be on resting and the recovery, and then you can fill in some of the sessions that I have with match preparation schedules. So on a Tuesday and a Friday before the matches, we are going to be focusing on attacking movement. On the Monday, there's chance conversion, there's also defensive shape. Defensive shape and attacking movement is all about preparing for the upcoming match. And then on a Sunday, we have our recovery session. So when you have 2 matches during the week, the main focus is actually resting and recovering. Lastly, the international break, where it's all about player development. A lot of your players might go on international break, so it might not even count for those players, but those players that are still at your club, those players that are training hard, this is what they're going to be focusing on. I've basically thrown everything in there to try and help your players develop, but again, the injury risk is very low. The fatigue now is actually a positive, so for those who need a rest over the international break, this will be perfect. So now there's a slight reduction in fatigue, there's going to be a heavy increase in team cohesion, a heavy increase in team happiness, and a slight increase in tactical familiarity. But we can see here the injury risk very low, the fatigue is in a good area, the condition is in a decent area as well. And that there, I guess, wraps up the training schedules. Now for the preseason, actually, because I didn't mention this, the first week of preseason, you can actually just use a preset. So what I do always for the first week, I make sure there's no matches during the first week, and then I go to preseason, and then I hit heavy. Actually, I go to heavy early, no matches, and I just have this basically. That's just for the first week, and then after the first week is done is where I'll use my own preseason schedule, my 1 match, my 2 matches, and the international break. As you can see during my calendar as well, where we use the preseason for the very last week of preseason. But here you can see my training schedules are all set throughout the whole season. It's all done and dusted for me. I don't need to do anything. I've set them all. So that there is all the training schedules. I hope you try it out. Of course, it took me some time, but now let's look at the results. Did any of the players develop? Did we keep the injury numbers down? I don't know. Let's check. So first off, we can have a look at the injury history. Now, Barcelona actually have a few players that are injury prone. So for us to have below the expected total of the season, it's kind of a bonus, it's kind of a positive. But as you can see, at the moment, we currently have 0 injuries. We have 0 major, 0 moderate, 0 minor, and 0 slight injuries. We also started the season in a similar fashion. Now, we did have a bit of an issue, I'd say, around February, which is the very busy time. So between January and February, we picked up our most injuries, and I'm guessing that's going to be similar for most of the clubs anyway, but that is where we picked up most of our injuries, and that is something to watch out on. Maybe we can tweak some training schedules between January and February to try and minimize that. But then again, a lot of these injuries did happen in match rather than training, so it might not necessarily be the training. It could be players suffering from bad tackles in matches, or it could be that some of the players are injury prone, like Sergio Aguero and Dembele. Of course, it's going to be given that those type of players are going to get injured because they are injury prone. But now we can look at the player development. Did anybody develop nicely? Let's have a look. So here's Gavi, and at the start of the video, he was a focus. We looked at his passing, and the reason was why. I looked at his passings, and as you can see, his passing has increased without even looking at it. So let's go to the progress. Let's go to all time, and we can see here he's got some very, very nice attributes increase. There's a slight overall in physical, mental, and his technical ability, but we can see his passing has increased, his technique has increased, and so has his vision. So he is turning into the player that we want him to be. So his passing actually started at 14, it's now at 16. His technique started at 16, it's now at 17, and his vision started at 15, and it's now at 16. So his passing technically had an increase of about 2, his vision had an increase of 1, and his technique has had a vision of 1 as well. Now here we can look at Pedri as well, where things are very, very similar. There's a slight improvement in the technical area, the mental area, and also the physical. But if we go to his development, we are looking at his agility and balance. That is what we are trying to focus on. His agility started at 15, it's now at 16, so there has been an increase, and his balance started at 13, it's now at 14. So before, his balance was in the average area, it's now in a good area, which is, again, like I said earlier, is exactly what we want. That's how we want to develop him. But the other areas of his game we didn't neglect. There is an increase. His off the ball is going up, as we can see. It started at 14. His positioning, his marking, free kick taking, heading, long shots. I mean, some of these attributes we really don't need. It could go into other areas like his dribbling, like his first touch. But you can see overall he's developing into a very nice player that we know he can be. We know that Pedri can be a very good player on Football Manager, but we're just trying to get him to that place very quickly, or quicker than normally. Now for my favorite one is Alex Collado. I mean, what a player. Just look at his stats. So he played 39, he scored 8, he's got 26 assists. I mean, all of that is not important, but what is important is his development, and this one is personally my favorite because he's a little bit older than Gavi and Pedri, so I know he's not developing at a fast rate purely because he's very, very young. He's 23 now. He started the game at 22, but look at his progress. Oh my god, this guy, he's my favorite. He's my favorite. There's a slight overall improvement in his physical ability, in his mental ability, and his technical ability. So his agility went from 15 to 17, his balance went from 13 to 15, his vision's gone up, so has his positioning, his off the ball's gone up, and I mean, literally nearly every attribute here has gone up, maybe apart from one here, which is his marking. That stayed on 5, I believe, but everything else, there has been an increase. He's improving very, very nicely. If we go to his development, we have put him as a shadow striker, agility and balance, and he also has the double intensity. If we check his progress, just look at his agility and balance, that is where he's got the biggest increase as well. He's really going to be a very, very good player for Barcelona, a key player as well. He might not have 20s, he might not have 19s, you don't necessarily need that. He's going to be an overall very good attacking player who can play attacking midfield and also on the flanks as well. And some people just develop completely different. I mean, completely different. So here we have Yusuf Demir. He's on shadow striker again, attacking movement. In no way are we trying to put a heavy focus on concentration, which is not. We're absolutely not. But when we go to his progress, it's his concentration that has the most biggest increase. It's gone from 11 to 16. Technically, there's been an increase of 5, which is absolutely mad, but we can see that other attributes have taken a toll. So his first touch is going a bit down, so is his free kick taking, his long shots as well, his marking, his teamwork. Some attributes aren't really developing, but there are other attributes like stamina that's just really shooting up, his decision making, his concentration, his dribbling, his heading. Some players just develop differently than others. Some players played a lot of games. Gerard Piqué played 41 games, Alex Collado played 39, Pedri played 38, Sergio Aguero played 36, all of which did not get knackered. They didn't get tired. They didn't get fatigued. They're all happy and they're all well and live. And we can see the training report here as well. Everybody's training well. Everything is all rosy at FC Barcelona. But thank you guys. If you are new and you haven't yet, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you leave a comment. If you haven't, make sure you download that OneFootball app. I'll see you guys soon. Stay safe and peace out.